I think that they know everything they need to know about doing really successful service provision. Um, Sometimes teaming them up with somebody who can help them through the development side process is enough to make it work. And so when we work with a special needs service provider, we basically say to them, we will work on the roadblocks that a developer has, financial, approvals, all the things that we need to do to have a successful building. We would like you to work on the roadblocks that you are an expert on. And if we can put those two people together, those two agencies together, it really is a very successful process. And it's not always the easiest process because everybody's coming at things from a different angle and looking at things in the way that they're used to looking at things. But if we can work together through those problems that may arise, it becomes very successful. I think that one of the biggest fears now that I hear from the service agencies that I deal with is funding is changing. Medicaid funding is totally switching the way that services are provided and services are paid for. And there's a lot of nervousness out there for service agencies because they want to do the mission that they are designed and were created for, but there's a real fear that with the cuts in budgets and the cuts in how they can fund different services that they put on the table for their clients, what's going to happen. And so sometimes linking in with a development is a good way to do that because you get a long-term commitment from, in this case, the state of New York, OPWDD, to provide service funding. And it enables an agency to have less fear about what's coming a year down the road or 2 years down the road as the Medicaid changes that are coming and the cuts that we all know are coming are going to be implemented. I think that there's a way to make these developments a way to help people. So I think that this can be a very helpful way for a service agency who may be nervous about what's happening in the Medicaid funding areas, of which most people are getting funding in some way through Medicaid for these clients. This is a way that they can lock into an agreement with both a developer like myself, but I think more importantly, an agency like OPWDD, so that this development will have those dollars set aside for services for a period of at least 15 years and usually longer. So when we do a development like the one that we were talking about in Cohoes, the agency that we're working with has a commitment for service dollars for the residents who are going to be living in that building for a 15-year period. So for an agency that is currently looking at how am I going to make my agency financially whole in a time when everybody's trying to cut my budget, this is a way that can be very helpful to an agency. It's not the end all to everything, but it's just one way that an agency can set aside and say, okay, we can serve 15 apartments, which may have 20 or 25 people in them, depending on the apartment sizes that are right for each individual. And so those people will now have service dollars attached to them through OPWDD for the period of time that the project needs to be funded, which is at least a 15-year period, and it usually goes on beyond that.